There's something wrong with that man, and not just in his stomach. No, he mixed up in the head. You don't need no MRI or CAT scan to see that. It's obvious. He mixed up bad. He mixed up real bad. Well, I'm Lester Chang, and I'm the only black man living in Chinatown. See, let me explain. I didn't so much choose Chinatown as Chinatown chose me. See, I was born in Washington, D.C., in the district, the nation's capital. And when I was in the 4th grade, came up with my classmates on a field trip to Philly. Going to check out some of the historical sites and all. Now, the last part of this field trip was in Chinatown. I remember we took a tour of one of them factories where they make fortune cookies. We got to see the whole process from start to finish. You know, the big-ass machines, rolling out the dough, precision mechanized cookie cutters, and the last part, old ladies sit at little typewriters with little slips of paper. One by one. I was so mesmerized, I must have lost track of the group. Because next thing I know, I go out the building to find my classmates, and all I've done seen is a school bus packed full of kids driving off into the distance, honking at some bad Asian drivers. It was the same way coming in. They'd be making right turns from left lane, left turns from the right lane. Oh. It's gotten worse, if anything else, in the last 43 years. Well, the hours passed, and I was starting to feel, cold, alone, hungry. The only sustenance I had was a souvenir fortune cookie they gave us at the factory. So I undid the plastic wrap, cracked it open, and I'll never forget what that little slip of paper said. It said, "You will become lost among strange and unfamiliar peoples. But this will help you build characters." Now, I don't pretend to understand the ways of destiny, but that shit right there was pretty accurate. Later that night, the Chang family took me in, done raised me through college, and that's where I've been living ever since. All in all, it turned out pretty good, I don't got no hard feelings about being raised by people of yellow colors. The only thing that kind of irks me is when people talk about the Wu-Tang Clan like they was the first black folks to ever wrap themselves up in Chinese culture. Excuse me. Excuse me. I was watching Superfly in Mandarin when they were being risen to learn how to use chopsticks. I was reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu in the original text when Method Man was getting his first taste of General Tso's. I bet the Wu-Tang Clan don't even know the difference between Tai Chi and Hu Chi. And trust me, there's a difference. Master Wang Chung will tell you that. That whole crew grew up with their real moms on Staten Island. And that's basically a suburb. Okay. I grew up with Mama Chang at 10th and Cherry. The only black person in the whole neighborhood. And it's been that way ever since. Just me and a whole lot of straight hair, yellow skin, bony ass people up in Chinatown. This one time, I thought I saw a brother walking out of an apartment across the way. But when I got a closer look, I saw he was just a Filipino man in a bad perm. Looked like a light-skinned version of Prince. Before he done lost his mind, started walking around in shiny pants and no ass cheeks. What made that Filipino man go out in public dressed up like that? What possessed him to be so foolish? Some people just don't know who they are. So they got to disguise themselves in all sorts of characters. It's sad. It's real sad. Speaking of sad, this summer, I got an urgent call in the cell from Joseph telling me that one of his relatives from Chinatown was about to take him up to Fox Chase. And when I heard that, I was like, no, hell no. The way those people drive, you ain't done gone through all you done been through. To have one of them people scare you even more half to death by riding in that passenger seat. There's only so much fear and terror a man can withstand at one month's time. Sometimes the brothers be asking me about Jeremy Lin, you know. What do I think about a Chinese-American NBA superstar? You know, what do I think about it? Well, I tell you what, I ain't surprised that a Chinaman can shoot hoops. Basketball and Kung Fu require similar degrees of agility. But I'll tell you what would impress me was if a Chinese peoples ever won a NASCAR race, a Formula One competition. Now that'd be something. See, on a bicycle, they cool. But when they operate in a motorized vehicle, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So I take Joseph up to Fox Chase as fast as I can, minding all the unwritten and written rules of the road, mind you. I get him situated for the surgery. I go back about 4 or 5 days later, and as I'm walking up to the room, I hear a loud popping sound. Like a cork coming out of a champagne bottle. Followed immediately by a primal scream. Now I enter the room, and Joseph's laid up in the bed, you know, severe pain, and there's this Russian nurse standing there with a big smile on her face, and an ice pack on her elbow like she just sprained it. She'd be carrying a long tube over to the garbage can. I had bad argument that night with Olga before she went to work at Fox Chase Cancer Center. We were having dinner and playing Scrabble, and she did not like the fact that I had just got triple word score by dropping paprika in top right corner. 39 points, just like that. Game over. She got up, flipped the Scrabble board off the table, and stormed out of the house to go to work. Next morning, she came back with this big smile on her face. An ice pack on elbow. I don't know what happened, but she seemed a lot more relaxed than when she left. I fried some potato pancakes for breakfast, and that morning, we made love in a pile of Scrabble tiles on the dining room floor. Now, Joseph was in a lot of pain, and I didn't feel good about leaving him alone in that condition. Well, all of a sudden, at 2 a.m., the president drops in. BHO himself was in the house. I spoke that evening with Lester and Joseph about what it means to be in someone's head in these times, in this country, this melting pot where different cultures and accents are constantly being blended and recast in ways their ancestors never would have thought possible or even advisable. As Americans, we hold firm to our belief in the power of mockery. We strive hard to create the conditions that allow each generation to grow more preposterous than the one that came before. It's a dream every parent has for their child. I'm sure Joseph's parents had it for him. And they're seeing it realized right now. It's a struggle that builds characters. People like Frank, John, Goop. You see, the U.S. comedy is a complex system based on a set of fundamental misunderstandings that go all the way back to Jack Tripper, Mr. Roper, Janet, and Suzanne Summers. The future beckons. Come and knock on our door. We're waiting for you. Where the kisses are hers, and hers, and his. Three's company too. Now, there's a lot of jokes out there who've been struggling for the past decade. And we can't just leave them behind. We gotta lift them up, dust them off, and give those jokes the tools to succeed in the 21st century. But what we won't do is go back to the failed parodies of the past. Seasons 21 and 22 of SNL. The last episode of Seinfeld. And that catchphrase of Balky Bartokomous from Perfect Strangers. You know, when Balky would tell his cousin Larry, don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Well, Joseph and I say be ridiculous. Be absurd. Be silly. Because if you think, speak, and act with no logic whatsoever, you'll become more of an American than you could ever dream. Thank you. Thank you. Song right now. Number one on my iPod. More and more positive.
Colonel Innsbrucker!
He complained.